This video is not going to be about me telling you what to eat. I'm not your dad. But what this video is going to be is how to look at a plate of food. 90% of our meals should look like this, roughly, for long-term fat loss and to build muscle. And by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly how to split your protein, fats, and carbohydrates so that you can build muscle, lose fat, and look good. So that when you're walking down the strip with your boys in Ibiza, or your girls, you're feeling yourself and you're looking good. It all starts with a plate. Now the truth is, if this plate ain't right, it doesn't matter how much you train. That's the harsh reality. You can train 9 times a week if you like, but if this ain't right, your body won't change. Or it might change, however, it will change underneath a layer of fat and you can't even see your body change. I hope you like my artwork. So what we've got here is protein, fats, and carbohydrates. That's actually a blend between a sweet potato and grapefruit and whatever else. I don't actually know what that is. This is a steak, of course, which actually falls into this as well. And this is a pint of milk. Now, before I show you this plate, I want you to understand, this is not scripted. This is off the dome. And I'm doing this because truthfully, the studies and a lot of the stuff out there is not accurate when it comes to building muscle and losing fat. A lot of the studies that you find, even a lot of the information in diplomas and degrees. Trust me, I've done one. The information is good, but the application of it is not the best. If you check the General Health Association and stuff, they will tell you to have 50% of your plate as carbohydrates. I don't want to go against the whole general health institutions and all the information out there and the scientists, but that is not going to contribute to you getting lean and building muscle. Why? Why is that not going to help? If 50% of your diet is carbohydrates, what is going to happen is 50% of your calories are basically going to be taken up by carbohydrates. And if 50% of your calories are taken up by carbohydrates, it's going to be very difficult to hit your protein target, because the protein target is the most important thing. We're going to get into this in a minute. It's going to be very difficult to hit your protein target. And if you don't hit your protein target, guess what? You're not building muscle. If you're doing your bicep curls, your tricep stuff, your chest, whatever you're doing. If you're doing all of that stuff, that is great. Superb. Fantastic. However, if you're not getting enough protein, roughly 1.2 to 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So if you're 70 kilograms, you're getting about 160 grams, something like that. All right, quite a bit of protein. If you're not getting at least enough protein, say even 100 grams if you're that person, right? Your body is not going to put on muscle. It's not going to be able to. It doesn't have enough energy. It doesn't have enough of the thing it needs, right? I digress. We're going back to the carbohydrates point. Now, as I said, the General Health Association will tell you to have 50% carbohydrates. Alf, on his YouTube channel, in his shed, is going to tell you, don't do that. Now, you decide who you listen to. However, what I would say, and no offense to these people, is if you whip up a picture of them, go do it in your own time, go type in the General Health Association board and go look at them, and you tell me which person you'd rather listen to. Again, this video is not about what to eat. I'm not going to tell you specifics. This is about putting on a lens. How do I look at this plate so that 90% of my meals match this criteria? And we're going to assume that on this day, you've done a weight session, that you've trained a little bit, or you've done a run or something. You've trained, you've done something to stress your body, good stress, because good stress is what causes growth. This one might shock you. Now, first thing we're going to do is we're going to split the plate in half. One half of this is going to be one thing. You're a genius. You've already worked it out. Protein. That's a steak. I'm not sure if it looks like one. But one half of the plate is going to be protein. Protein is the single most important macro that there is. Protein comes from the Greek word protos, which means primary, which means number one. It means the most important thing that there is. That's where the word actually comes from. Yeah. So if that's the case, then at least half of our plate needs to be full up with this word called protein. Right? The reason why is because when we have a meal and half of it is protein, it makes hitting that protein target easy. I want you to think like this. If you've got 3 meals that are 500 calories and half of that, 250 calories of that is protein, 250 grams of chicken breast or even chicken thighs, let's increase the fats a little bit, right? Which we'll get onto in a minute. But say 250 grams of that is chicken thighs. Now you're looking at about 45 to 50 to even like 55, 60 grams of protein in 1 meal. Now, assuming you have 4 500 calorie meals, that's going to be 185, 75. Oh, I keep that in. But anyways, that's a lot of protein. Not a crazy amount, but you can almost guarantee, in fact, you can guarantee that if you have 50% protein or 40% maybe, let's give or take a little bit, all right? 40% protein. Now, as long as the majority of your plate is protein, we're already starting off fantastically. Now we're gonna come back to that. Let's go on to the other side of the plate. Now, this is where it sort of gets a bit complicated, or can. Now, what I'm gonna say is, fats don't make you fat. Can I just put that out there? Fats are incredibly important when it comes to your hormonal health, your general mood, and a bunch of other stuff behind the surface. Now, we've got the stuff on the surface, your muscles, your fat, all of that stuff that you see. And then we've got the things behind the surface. Fats work a lot on the things behind the surface that we don't actually get to see. What I want you to think about is you can go your whole life without carbohydrates. It wouldn't be a very enjoyable life, but you can. Yeah? You cannot go your whole life without fats, and you cannot go your whole life without protein. The body will just die. It needs this, and it needs this. Now, here's the complicated one. I got a bit of heat for this in a video I made a couple weeks ago about how to view carbohydrates and why not to cut them out. But I stand by it. Carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are a fuel source. Simply. Now, again, we've assumed that on this whole day that we're getting this plate and we're making this meal, that we've trained. We've at least done some level of weight training, or we've done some running, or whatever it is. Now, depending on whether you've done quite a lot of cardio or you've done quite a lot of weight training, is going to be dependent on what side of these that we want to alter. Now, if we're doing more running, if we're doing more cardio stuff, then of course we want a little bit more carbohydrates to support us with that. Again, as an athlete, if you want to really push it. Whereas if you're going to be doing a little bit more weight training and stuff, then you can strike the balance a little bit more between carbohydrates and fats. That is up to you. However, remember, this is how to look at the plate. I'm not telling you what to eat. The variable that doesn't change is this one. Protein should take up at least 40 to 50% of the plate. So now, let's give an example. I might actually throw some pictures of some meals that I've been having recently. So something I like to do is I like to switch between sort of lean meat sources or meat sources that have a little bit of fat in. The fat on meat is very good for you and has a lot of micronutrients that we're not even aware of. For example, a steak, there's my little picture of a steak, has over 42,000 components within it. Now, components is a breakdown of vitamins, minerals, all of these little micronutrients. There's so much nutrients in a steak, right? And that is not just from the meat, that is from the fat and stuff around the meat, as you can see in my diagram. Steak, on half of that plate, literally takes up about half the plate. And then on the other side, what I'm looking to do is I'm looking to put some good carbohydrates on there. That might be sweet potato, that might be white potato, that might be rice, that might be whatever. But what I'll also do, and this is the trick when it comes to building the perfect plate. On this plate, I'll also put, wait for it, some vegetables or some fruit. Now, the reason why, and by the way, for all of those that commented on the carbohydrates video, fruit and veg actually comes under carbohydrates. Now, if you want to cut out fruit and veg from your diet, go ahead. I'll see you in a little bit. For those that are smart enough to include veg and fruit in their diet, you keep it in and it goes under the carbohydrates category. You want to have your potato, your sweet potato, or whatever else it is. And on top of that, you want to be adding some veg or some fruit. The main thing that the veg does, and this is the absolute game changer, and this is why you need to do it when it comes to building this plate, is this word called satiety. Satiety is the aim of this plate. What we want to do is we want to finish this plate and be satiated. Satiated means you're full up. You ever walked out of a restaurant after eating about 4,000 calories and your belly's out here and you're like, all right, I'm done. I can't eat anymore. You're satiated. Now, you don't have to eat 4,000 calories to get satiated. You can do it with less. You include a little bit of veg. Forgive me, it's a bit messy. So we've got our fats, we've got our carbohydrates. Veg is a carbohydrate, which sort of comes in together. And we have this part for maybe a sweet potato, some veg, some fats, maybe a couple slices of, small slices of cheese or whatever else you want to put on there. And then your main thing, which is protein. This is the perfect plate. Pretty close to it. Now, you can remix this. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not telling you what to eat. I'm not your dad. Veg allows your body to break down the nutrients that you've eaten, especially the protein. And it tells your body, it basically sends signals. So it goes in your belly and then signals go off. You've eaten. You're full. I'm satisfied. That signal that goes to your brain to say I'm satisfied, I'm satiated, is what's going to stop you from binging, eating loads of sugar and eating loads of rubbish, which ultimately will then lead you, once you do this for weeks and weeks and weeks, will lead you to losing fat. And this protein is going to allow you to keep and, of course, build muscle. That's the goal of this plate, is to burn fat. And then once the fat is off, keep the fat off, feel full so you're not hungry all the time. There is nothing worse than that. And ultimately, build muscle. There is the perfect plate. I've been your host with the most. I don't know what to say. I hope that helps. Check out the description. There might be a couple free links that you can click on to understand this stuff in a little bit more depth. I've got some free stuff I've made. Go on there, have a look, tell me what you think. Until the next one, blessings, love, and I'll see you in a bit.